Hello everyone. Today we'll be discussing in detail about the selective repeat protocol. So in the last class we had discussed about the go back in protocol. The go back in protocol simplifies the process at the receiver. So receiver keeps track of only one variable because the receive window is only one. So there is no need to buffer the out of order packets. We need not save it. They are simply discarded. Because of this, what happens is that this protocol is inefficient because the protocol loses lot of packets. Each time a single packet is lost or corrupted, the sender resends all the outstanding packets, even though some of these may have been received safe and sound but out of order. So this is the outline of the selective repeat. You can see this was discussed. One thing to be remembered is here is that the send window and the receive window are of the same size, and here this there will be acknowledged out of order and also packet received out of order. This is extra while compared to the go back in protocol. Then also we had seen about the windows here. The difference from the go back in is that here the window size, it is only 2 power m minus 1. So if for example m is 4, the sequence numbers will be same 0 to 15. It is same in protocols, but the window size is just 8 in the case of a selective repeat. But in the case of a go back in, how much it will be? It will be 2 power 4 minus 1. So it will be 15 in the case of go back in. But in the selective repeat, the difference is it is 2 power 4 minus 1. So it is 2 power 3, which is equal to 8. That is the major difference. So with respect to the receive window also, it is totally different from the go back in. Here the size of the receive window is same as that of the size of the send window. And selective repeat allows as many packets as the size of the receive window to arrive out of order, and it is kept there until a set of consecutive packets to be delivered. Because the sizes of the send window and the receive window are same, all the packets in the send window can arrive out of order and stored until they can be delivered. So here the receiver never delivers the packets out of order to the application layer. That is very important. So here you can see the slots inside the window. There are few shaded ones. These are arrived out of order and waiting for the earlier transmitted packets to arrive before delivering to the application layer. Next is about the timers. So timer is in the selective repeat uses one timer for each outstanding packet. When a timer expires, only that corresponding packet is resent. This is also a difference from that of the go back in. In go back in, outstanding packets are treated as a group and the selective repeat treats them individually. Most transport layer protocol implement selective repeat, use only a single timer. Next is about acknowledgements. There is another difference between the two protocols. In go back in, the acknowledgement number is cumulative. Defines sequence number of the next packet expected, confirming that all the previous packets, group of those packets are received safe and sound. But here in the case of a selective repeat, the acknowledgement number defines the sequence of a single packet that is received, and there is no feedback for any other packet. It does not speak about the other packet. So that is what we had seen. So for example, assume a sender sends 6 packets 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The sender receives an acknowledgement with acknowledgement number 3. So if the system is using go back in, then in that case it tells that the packet 0, 1, 2 are received and uncorrupted, and the receiver is expecting the packet 3. And in the case if the system is using selective repeat, it means that packet 3 has been received uncorrupted and acknowledgement does not say anything about other packet. Next is about the FSM, that is the finite state machine. So remember, in the selective repeat, the acknowledgement number tells about the sequence number of the error-free packet received. If it is 3, that means the packet 3 has been received. Next is about the FSM. If you consider the FSM at the sender side, sender starts in the ready state. It is similar to the go back in, but there are some differences. Ready and the blocking. In the ready state, there can be 4 events, as we have already discussed. In the go back in, if a request comes from the application layer, sender creates a packet with the sequence number set to SN. Copy is stored, packet is sent. If the timer is not running, the sender starts the timer. The value of SN is incremented. If the window is full, the sender goes to the blocking state. Second one, if an error-free acknowledgement arrives with the acknowledgement number related to the outstanding packet, the packet is marked as unacknowledged. If the acknowledgement number is equal to SF, the window slides to the right until the SF points to the first unacknowledged packet. If there are outstanding packets, the timer is restarted, otherwise the timer is stopped. Third one, if a corrupted or error-free acknowledgement with the acknowledgement number not related to the outstanding packet arrives, it is discarded. And the fourth one, if a timeout occurs, sender resends all the unacknowledged packets in the window and restarts the timer. Next is about the blocking. There can be 3 events. One is if an error-free acknowledgement arrives with the acknowledgement number related to one of the outstanding packet, the packet is marked as acknowledged. In addition, if the acknowledgement number is SF, the window is slide to the right until SF points to the first unacknowledged packet. If the window has a select, the sender moves to the ready state. If a corrupted acknowledge or error-free acknowledge with the acknowledgement number not related to the outstanding packet arrives, the acknowledgement is discarded. If a timeout occurs, sender resends all the unacknowledged packets in the window and restarts the timer. Next is receiver. The receiver is always in the ready state. 3 events can occur in the receiver. So here, if an error-free packet with the sequence number in the window arrives, the packet is stored and the acknowledgement number equal to sequence number is sent. In addition, if the sequence number is RN, then the packet and all the previously arrived packets are delivered to the application layer and window slides so that RN points to the first empty slot. If an error-free packet with the sequence number outside the window arrives, the packet is discarded and the acknowledgement equal to RN is returned. This is needed to let the sender slide it window some acknowledgement related to the packets with the sequence number less than RN were lost. If a corrupted packet arrives, the packet is discarded. Next is, this is example similar to what we had discussed in the go back in which the packet 1 is lost. Now we'll see how the selective repeat behaves here. At the sender, packet 0 is transmitted and acknowledged. We will see in the flow diagram, packet 1 is lost. We had seen this example even in the case of a go back in. Here the packet 2 and 3 arrive out of order and are acknowledged. When the timer times out, packet 1 is resent. It is the only unacknowledged packet and it is acknowledged and the send window slides. The difference in the go back in was that all the packets were made to be resent. So at the receiver side, we need to distinguish between the acceptance of a packet and its delivery to the application. At the second arrival, the packet 2 arrives and is stored and marked, but it cannot be delivered because the packet 1 is missing. At the next arrival, packet 3 arrives and is marked and stored, but still none of the packets can be delivered. Only at the last arrival, when a final copy of the packet 1 arrives, then packet 1, 2 and 3 can be delivered to the application layer. There are 2 conditions for the delivery. First, a set of consecutive packets must have arrived. Second, the set starts from the beginning of the window. So this is the flow diagram which I have told. So packet 0 is sent, for which acknowledgement is received. So packet, the outstanding SF moves to 1 now. Packet 1 is sent, but the packet itself is lost. So it sends packet 2, which is in the send window. Receiver sends back the acknowledgement. Next, it sends a packet 3. Receiver sends back the acknowledge. Now what happens here? The timeout occurs. When the timeout occurs, now it checks which acknowledgement is not received. Acknowledgement 1 is not received. That means the packet 1 is resent. Here you can see that packet number and the acknowledgement number are the same. So in the earlier protocols we had seen, it tells about the next packet that the receiver is expecting. Here those are same. If acknowledgement 1 is lost, that means packet 1 has to be resent, and that will be resent, and then it will be arranged in the order. So that is about the selective repeat. And then we'll see why the sender and the receiver window must be 1/2 of 2 power m. As I have told here, in the selective repeat, the size of the sender and the receiver window both are same, and it is 1/2 of 2 power m. That means 2 power m divided by 2. That means 2 power m minus 1. That means, for example, m is 2, then it is 2 power 2 minus 1. That means 2 power 1. That means the window size is 2. So this is about the window size. So packet 0 is sent, acknowledgement is lost. Packet 1 is sent, acknowledgement is lost. So what is done here? Time out. So the packet 0 itself is sent, then it will be correctly discarded. That is what this window size should be equal to 2 power m minus 1. What happens if it's greater than that? Then in that case, for example, if the m value is 2 now, then in that case window size is 2 power 2 minus 1. So it is window size is 2 here in the case. But here we have to consider a case now which is greater than 2. Let us consider 3. Packet 0 is sent, acknowledgement is lost. Packet 1 is sent, acknowledgement is lost. Packet 2 is sent, acknowledgement is lost. Then what is done? Since the size here is timeout occurs, here since the size was 3, packet 2 is also acknowledgements lost. So next it will send packet 0, and here in the receiver, since it slides by 111 and the receive window is same as that of the send window, 301, that means receiver can receive the packet with the number 301. When it receives packet 0, it accepts and stored as new data, but actually it should not accept because packet 0 was already received, only the acknowledgements were lost. So that will be wrong. That's why this receive window and the send window size should be equal to 2 power m minus 1. So this is what we had seen about the selective repeat. Next, let us see about the next chapter, module 5, that is related to the UDP. So here in the UDP, what we can see is that it is an introduction to the transport layer protocols. In the module 5, it is the second half. So here, first let us see about the transport layer protocol in the TCP/IP protocol suite. So this is what we had seen. In this chapter, we will be concentrating on TCP and UDP. So UDP stands for User Datagram Protocol and the TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. So in detail, we will be studying about this. So first let us see about the port numbers. There are few port numbers which are common for all the protocols that we are going to discuss. So transport layer protocol has several responsibilities. One is to create a process-to-process communication These protocols use port numbers. It is said to be port numbers provide end-to-end addresses and allows multiplexing and demultiplexing, just as IP addresses do at the network layer. So these are the port numbers. Here, most of the time, port number 13, protocol daytime, which returns the date and the time, will be considered as the example. So remember that port number to write an example. First, let us see just about UDP protocol. So the user datagram protocol is a connectionless, unreliable transport protocol. Already we have studied this in the regular labs. So UDP is a connectionless protocol where the frames are not related to each other, and also here these are independent of each other. We can tell that these are independent of each other, the frames are. So unreliable transport protocol, it is why then, if UDP is so powerless, it is connectionless, unreliable, then why the process want to use it? With the disadvantages, there are some advantages. It is very simple protocol using minimum of overhead. So these UDP packets, which are called as user datagrams, have a fixed size header, and the header size is 8 bytes, which are made of 4 fields, each of 2 bytes. So in the next figure, we can see the format of this. You can see that 8 byte is a header and remaining is the data. And in that 8 bytes, we have each as 2 bytes, 4 fields. So 2 bytes is source port number, 2 bytes is destination port number, 2 bytes is total length, and the 2 bytes is the checksum. So the first 2 fields defines the source and the destination port number. Third field defines the total length of the user datagram, header plus data, and the 16 bits can define a total length of 0 to 65,535 bytes. However, the total length needs to be less because a UDP user datagram is stored in an IP datagram with a total length of 65,535 bytes, and the last field can carry the checksum. So let us see here the example problem. The following is the content of the UDP header. So CB84000D001C001C. So here, first, what is a source port number, destination port number, total length of user datagram, length of the data, and is the packet delivered from a client to the server or vice versa? What is the client process? So remember here, which we have seen, first 2 bytes, that means 4 hexadecimal digits will be the source port number. Next 4 bytes will be the destination port number. Next the 4 digits will be the total length, and the last 4 digits is the checksum. So first question is now, what is the source port number? So source port number is the first 4 hexadecimal digits. So CB84, which in decimal is 52,100. Next is the destination port number. It is the second 4 hexadecimal digits, which is 000D, which is 13 in decimal. Third 4 hexadecimal digits, 001C, which defines the length of the UDP packet, which is equal to 28 bytes. So total length, if it is 28 bytes, which is length of the full UDP packet, we know that the length of the header is 8. So 28 minus 8 is 20 bytes. So length of the data is the length of the whole packet minus the length of the header. So length of the data is 20 bytes. Next, the last question was about is the packet directed from client to a server? What is the client process? So here we can see that the destination port number is 13, which is a well-known port. The table was given earlier, had asked you to remember the port number 13. It tells about it is a daytime process and the packet is directed from client to the server. So in the next class, we'll be discussing about the UDP services and also about the UDP applications and about the TCP services and also the TCP features and the segment will be discussed. So here in the UDP services, it is process to process communication. It provides connectionless service, flow control. There is no flow control, and also there is no error control here. And how the checksum is calculated will be discussed, and also it is about the congestion control. It does not provide a congestion control. Next is encapsulation and decapsulation, queuing, multiplexing, demultiplexing, all that will be discussed. So this is about the protocol. So in this class we had seen about the selective repeat protocol, and also the little introduction is given to the UDP protocol. So we'll discuss about the other topics in the coming classes. Thank you.